Since 2016, 40,000 people in Canada have died through MAID, making our nation a global frontrunner in the practice of euthanasia. A 2022 report profiling why Canadians were accessing MAID in such large numbers showed that the inability to engage in life activities, chronic pain, and loss of dignity were top reasons why so many in our nation chose assisted suicide. Most worrisome, 35% of people who chose MAID said they were doing so because they felt they were a perceived burden on family, friends, and caregivers, and 17% cited loneliness and isolation as the nature of their suffering. Joining me now to talk about how the church in Canada can support and love those in practical, emotional, and spiritual need is Antonio Blanco, Care Seniors and Intercultural Ministries Pastor at Glad Tidings Church here in Ontario. Welcome to 100 Huntley Street, Pastor Antonio.
Great to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation, Laura.
Thank you. Now, Pastor Antonio, when you hear a statistic like 17% of people who chose to end their lives through medical assistance did so because of loneliness and isolation, how does that make you feel as someone who works in pastoral care?
It's devastating, Laura, and I see it quite often. Every week I have people on phone calls, people that are experiencing these. Last week alone, I have 2 phone calls of single moms are struggling with this reality of loneliness and isolation. And love is not meant to be, experienced in isolation. And we know that. And we know that also isolation, and it could be something that we all experience at some point in life.
Yeah.
Henry Nouwen says that what is most personal is most universal. So we all have experienced it somehow. And it's just interesting to see that the last season that we just went through didn't help at all with that. We all experienced that at some level. So presence to us, it has been the number one priority when it comes to dealing with these situations where you need to contact, you need to be able to reach out. God is the God of the rescue. And He's inviting us to be that part of that process of rescuing others in the process, being present, being faithful in presence. And that's, to us as a church, our main priority, to be present, to have and invite people to come into the presence of Jesus, to have that community of Jesus that will enhance and also bring awareness that we all need to have companionship, that we all need fellowship, that we all need community.
Well, I love that, Pastor Antonio. And, this idea that we are to be present with others, it is at the core of the church you serve at. And, of course, the community is booming and it's very strong. One of the specific focuses you have is on seniors.
Right.
What would you say are some of the issues most prevalent to seniors today that they're struggling with?
The one thing that you always hear is like, I'm lonely, I don't see people. I need somebody to talk to. I have no hope. I've heard that. In fact, one of our beloved members passed away recently, and he was lonely. And yet the community came through and visited him. We have visitation teams that actually help to alleviate the load of loneliness within the congregation. And what I like about him, though, is that he was able to actually embrace that in a way that, okay, I'm gonna belong to this church, I'm gonna be part of this church, I'm gonna be involved in this community, and allow these people, this fellowship, to give me that hope that I need, to know that I'm not alone, that first of all, Jesus is with me, and second of all, I have my brothers and sisters to walk along the way.
Yes, so powerful, and such a great testimony of the difference community life can make for someone who's struggling with loneliness. Of course, we know that more seniors are considering medical assistance in dying. We know that if the laws are implemented where someone with mental health issues can start to seek medical assistance in dying, we are facing a slippery slope, and we have to be very intentional in community building together as brothers and sisters in Christ, reaching out on that rescue mission you said. I love that. An interesting feature of your church is that you actually have a seniors home connected to the building. And I wanted to ask you a bit about the impact you think that has on the seniors living in the retirement residence.
Yeah, that is huge. And so there is a connection. There's actually a tunnel that connects the church and the building. And we have different events, different opportunities for the seniors to connect. We have, for instance, a monthly gathering where we have different guest speakers. You might be one of those pretty soon. And we have an opportunity to just build community, have fellowship. We sing hymns. And we have opportunities, once again, to remember the goodness of God in the midst of what we're dealing with, even in the midst of the loneliness, that brings life to Acts. You see, Paul says that, we as Christians carry this presence, this aroma that brings life. And that's important that we as a community embrace that theology of presence that not only brings life, but also brings hope to our community. So yes, not only that one home, but we also have a ministry that has been around for 30 years, where we go and visit different long-term facilities in the city of Burlington and bring hope, bring the gospel, and bring, a closeness, an opportunity to connect with more people. And that's what it's all about, to be able to connect with people and share the love of Christ with them, wherever we go. So there's about 8 of them that we visit on a monthly basis. We'll continue to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much need. Pastor Antonio, when you're looking at the epidemic of loneliness in our nation, the epidemic of mental health challenges, do you feel that this is a result of a lack of hope?
There's despair. There is despair, and there's definitely, our eyes are not fixed on the most important thing in our lives, which is our eyes should be fixed on Jesus, not on the things of this earth. And yes, that doesn't mean that we're going to escape from our reality, but at least we need to fix our eyes on Jesus so that we know that He's our hope. He's the one who brings restoration. He's the one that fulfills, the needs, the basic needs that we all have as human, a need for attachment and a need for authenticity. And we all lack that when we isolate. The need to connect properly and the need to be authentic. And that attacks our identity. Yes. That attacks the way that we think in ourselves, like, I'm not worthy, nobody wants me, nobody wants to see me. There is a statistic that says that if you see at least one person that tells you, I'm going to wait for you, I'm waiting for you to come back, when you go to the hospital and visit that person, and you say, and you give them hope, I'm going to be waiting for you. That's what we do when we go to the hospital. You better get well, because I'm going to be waiting for you when you are out of here. That gives hope. But the despair, it's deep and it's real. And so the invitation that we all have as Christians, once again, God is the God of the rescue. So to go into the suffering of people, I know it doesn't sound too popular, but we're invited as Christians to go into the suffering of people, to go into the isolation of others and break the barriers of, lack of communication, open communication, and also know that love can only exist in community. And the gospel builds community.
So good. Such words of encouragement there. And as we go on this rescue mission, we are hope bearers, running towards those who are suffering and sharing the hope of Jesus with them. Pastor Antonio, if we have viewers watching right now saying, what does that look like then in my day-to-day? What can I do right now? I want to share the hope of Jesus with those around me.
Well, first of all, know that you're not alone. You're not alone. We all have these thoughts, and I get it, but you're not alone. There's hope for you. There's a community of Jesus. There's a friend. There's a teacher. There is a co-worker that you can talk to. I understand that in isolation, sometimes we don't want to allow the self to express the pain that we're experiencing in our souls. But there's an opportunity through someone that you know, and I know that there's somebody out there that knows that there's somebody that can listen to them. And that's what we all really want, to be listened to know that somebody's going to be able to accept us the way we are. And obviously we need Jesus. That's the first priority. That's the first thing. But to know that there's a pastor ready to take the phone call. There's a friend really ready to embrace you and to give you hope through that embrace. Sometimes we can say a lot of words to people. But I say that a faithful presence is beyond words. A faithful presence sometimes is just being present with each other and allow that presence to bring healing. I've gone to the hospital sometimes or visit friends that are desperate, and the only thing that I can offer, it's just my presence. A hug. To know that even that, to allow that to happen in your life, to know that there's people out there willing and they're waiting for you to hear your story, to hear your truth, and to bring hope into your life.
I love that. Pastor Antonio, I hear your heart there. Christians can be those who are offering that hope. And if someone's struggling with hopelessness, know that we are around them, wanting to support them and love them in community churches like the one you serve at. Pastor Antonio, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Lara, for the invitation.
Thank you.
Bye.
If you are struggling with loneliness or hopelessness in this moment, I want to encourage you that you are not alone, that God loves you, He is with you, and there are so many people like Pastor Antonio, like myself, our prayer partners that are there to support you and love you. You can call our prayer lines 1-866-273-4444, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And not only will they pray with you, but they will connect you to a local Bible-believing church where there is community that can rally around you and encourage you.